In 2009 at the Cerrejón coal mine in Colombia, while mining coal, a strange bone fell out. It was thicker than a grown man's fist, and the miners casually tossed it to a paleontologist. Everyone's first reaction was that it must be from a crocodile. 60 million years ago, Colombia was full of giant crocodiles. Only a crocodile could have bones that big. But the more the scientists looked at it, the more something felt off. Crocodile vertebrae are flat, but this bone's cross-section was a perfect circle. They sent the bone to the lab. It didn't match anything in the crocodile database, nor the dinosaur database, nor even the mammal database. The lab fell into a deathly silence until someone proposed a crazy idea. Could it be a snake? Everyone laughed. How could a snake have such a large vertebra? But they decided to try anyway. They entered the data into the snake model, and after the computer ran for 3 hours, when the results came out, the entire lab was silent. If this was a snake vertebra, then the snake would have been at least 12 meters long, possibly up to 15 meters, and weighed over a ton. They ran the calculations 3 times, and each time the result was the same: 15 meters long, 1 ton in weight. This isn't a snake, it's a bus. Its thickest part is a meter in diameter. It doesn't need venom or fangs. If it coils around you for just 3 seconds, all your ribs will shatter, and your internal organs will be crushed into pulp. It's called the Titanoboa. This name wasn't given lightly. Titan refers to the giants in Greek mythology. If a creature is named after a god, you can imagine how terrifying it is. In the following months, the miners unearthed even more bones, 28 vertebrae, an entire set of ribs, and even part of a skull. The reconstructed image sent chills down everyone's spine. You might not have a sense of what 15 meters means. Your living room probably isn't even half that length. If it were lying on the ground, its back would reach right up to your chest. The thickest part of the Titanoboa was over a meter in diameter, like a living support pillar. Wherever it slithered, all the shrubs would be crushed, and the swamps would be left with deep grooves. Its head alone was 40 centimeters long, even bigger than the pillow you sleep on. In February 2009, the journal Nature published this discovery, and more than 70 media outlets around the world followed up, because this finding completely rewrote humanity's understanding of reptiles. But its size wasn't the most terrifying thing. The most frightening was its killing power. Scientists calculated its constriction force, 400 pounds per square inch. You might not have a sense of what that number means. If a person is pressed by 100 pounds, they will experience respiratory failure. At 200 pounds, ribs begin to break. 400 pounds is like having a family car precisely crushing your chest. With just one contraction of its body, your bones would crack with a crisp, explosive sound, like dry branches snapping. In as little as 3 seconds, your heart could stop beating entirely, and it doesn't wrap around you slowly. Modern pythons can coil around their prey in just 0.3 seconds. Although the Titanoboa is even larger, its muscles are also much stronger. Before you even realize what's happening, it has already wrapped you up like a zongzi dumpling. So what does it usually eat? You'd never guess. Its staple food is crocodiles. Scientists have discovered fossils of Vasuki. This type of crocodile could reach up to 4 meters in length, had a bite force of over 2 tons, a mouthful of serrated teeth, and skin as tough as armor. But in the eyes of the Titanoboa, crocodiles are just takeout. As long as it coils around them, the crocodile's tough armored skin is as fragile as paper, under 400 pounds of pressure. Scientists have even found evidence, a crocodile vertebra with clear compression marks that perfectly match the shape of the Titanoboa's ribs, indicating that it really did eat crocodiles and swallowed them alive. At this point, you might be wondering, how does such a huge snake move? The answer is that it could barely move on land at all. Its own weight would crush its internal organs, and its muscles would spasm from lack of oxygen, so it spends most of its time lurking in murky, muddy water. The buoyancy of the water supports its massive body, just like a giant submarine with an enormous displacement. Picture this, a stretch of turbid tropical swamp, rotting leaves floating on the surface, the air hot and humid, and you can barely see anything. Suddenly, you notice a small patch of water moving. That's the eye of the Titanoboa. Just barely exposed above the water, its eyes are like 2 glass beads, completely motionless. It can wait like this for days, not eating or drinking, remaining perfectly still, waiting for prey to come to it. As soon as you approach the water's edge, as soon as you enter its strike zone, 0.3 seconds, it erupts from beneath the surface, bites down on its prey, drags it into the water, coils around it once, twice, 3 times. The whole process takes less than 10 seconds. After devouring a 4-meter-long crocodile, it might not need to eat again for a month. That's why, 60 million years ago, the swamps of South America were a forbidden zone for all creatures. But then something strange happened. If it was so powerful, why did a creature that dominated the boundary between land and sea eventually disappear? The real cause of its death is hidden in the thermometer. You need to understand a basic scientific fact. Snakes are ectothermic animals. They can't generate their own body heat and are completely dependent on the external environment. 60 million years ago, during the hottest Paleocene thermal maximum in Earth's history, the average temperature in the Colombian rainforest was between 32 and 34 degrees Celsius. There was no winter, no cool season. The whole year felt like a steamer. It was precisely this kind of extreme heat that caused the Titanoboa's metabolism to accelerate dramatically. It grew faster, ate more, digested better, and only then could its body size break through physiological limits. The Titanoboa was the ultimate product of a high-temperature environment. Its very existence tells you what Earth was like 60 million years ago. It was so hot that it's hard to even imagine. However, Earth couldn't stay feverish forever. After the Paleocene, the Eocene began, and global temperatures started to slowly decline. Over millions of years, the average temperature dropped by 3 to 4 degrees. You might think, isn't that just like turning up the air conditioner a few degrees? But for the Titanoboa, this was a lifelong apocalypse. As soon as the temperature dropped, its metabolism instantly slowed by half. Its movement speed dropped dramatically, and its digestive ability began to collapse. Eating a crocodile, which used to take just 2 weeks to digest, now took a month. Its body was simply too large, and the environment could no longer provide the energy it needed to survive. Even worse, its reproduction started to fail. The temperature was too low for its eggs to hatch, and even if they did, the hatchlings grew very slowly, and their survival rate plummeted. Meanwhile, its rivals were on the rise. Those warm-blooded mammals, our ancestors, were evolving rapidly. No matter how the temperature changed, mammals could always stay energetic. They took away the Titanoboa's offspring, divided up its territory, and took its food. Titanoboa did not die in battle. It was starved to death by the changing times. So it began to slowly starve. Not the kind of starvation that kills you outright, but a gradual weakening, generation after generation, over millions of years. Each generation became smaller and weaker, until eventually, they disappeared completely. This kind of slow extinction. The former overlord was thus eliminated by the passage of time. There were no natural enemies, no disasters. The temperature simply dropped by 3 degrees, just 3 degrees. Do you think the story ends here? Not at all. In April 2024, scientists unearthed a new giant snake fossil in India. It was named Vasuki, the king of snakes, dating back 47 million years, with an estimated length of 11 to 15 meters, comparable to the Titanoboa. What does this prove? As long as the conditions are right, as long as the temperature is high enough, these top-tier terrifying creatures will reappear like ghosts, repeatedly making their presence known throughout the course of evolution. Earth hasn't produced giant snakes just once, it has produced many of them. This giant serpent, it has been created many times. Now please look up and take a look at today's news. Global warming, rising sea temperatures, melting polar glaciers, humankind is using industrial emissions to personally forge a brand new Paleocene. Since the Industrial Revolution, the global average temperature has already risen by 1.2 degrees. At the current rate, it could rise another 3 to 4 degrees by the end of this century. In other words, we are recreating the world in which the Titanoboa lived. Do you think it will come back? Although evolution takes time, millions of years, you have to remember, snakes have existed on Earth for 100 million years, while humans have only been here for 300,000. In the eyes of Mother Nature, humans are merely visitors passing through this world, while the true landlords have always lain dormant in the ashes of history, waiting for their scorching era to return. The very ground you stand on now was a graveyard for giant beasts tens of millions of years ago. It wasn't just snakes, there were also giant leviathan whales twice the weight of blue whales, and Dunkleosteus fish with a bite force 5 times that of a sniper rifle. They all once believed themselves to be the eternal masters of this planet. But even the slightest tremor in the climate could reduce the mightiest overlords to dust. The Earth doesn't need saving, it's humanity that does. A 3-degree rise in temperature is enough for a new overlord to emerge. A 3-degree drop in temperature is enough to wipe out the old rulers. 3 degrees is the distance between life and death, between civilization and wilderness. So the next time you see news about global warming, think of this snake. Think about how it survived and how it disappeared. Because this isn't just the story of a snake, it's the story of the Earth, and it's our story too. As we recklessly emit our carbon footprint and try to reshape nature, perhaps in some dark corner, an egg bearing the name of a god is waiting for a summer that's hot enough. It doesn't need venomous fangs, nor does it need intelligence. It only needs temperature. That's all it takes.